Hey everyone, I'm Marilyn.
I'm Susie, Marilyn's sister.
And I'm Sam, their cousin.
And we've decided to start a coven? Yeah?
That's what we labeled it.
I think it represents what a coven stands for. I mean, part of the reason why we were going to call it a coven was because Sam actually does believe in paganism. I mean,
Yes.
that's
And
what you identify most with.
And I kind of have always gravitated to it. I have always felt like when I look into sort of the belief system of like modern paganism, it sort of resonates with me.
Yeah,
as a
same.
human.
What's so funny about that is that, okay, so before this whole thing happened, I'm not going to lie, I was very misinformed about paganism.
Like how so? Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible podcaster. Sorry.
Are you not recording?
Notification.
No, I am.
Oh,
but
you
I have a notification.
I mean, you're a school professor, so you
got to be on call for something.
I'm on call for my
okay.
students, y'all. I mean, I pretty much am.
This is a professional. This is a professional person.
Okay, but
or
like
professional interruption.
back
my
to
apologies.
you.
But back to you, Susie.
So
you're talking
my
about your
misinformation.
misconceptions.
So,
of
and to be
paganism.
honest with you, this kind of all is on a whole nother spectrum of how misinformation can really misguide people into doing and thinking and feeling ways that are very misinformed, obviously. So I, as a person, was not doing my thorough research after finding out information that made me feel or, box something up into a certain way. It should have been my prerogative at that point to say, hey, let me seek out more information about this because this seems to intrigue me to feel this way. But instead, I just kind of boxed it up, put it on a shelf and said, nope, this is all my knowledge that I have on paganism. And okay, here to get back into that. What my previous experience, this is going to be terrible, I know. So just prepare yourself.
You know what's coming.
Yeah, they both know kind of a little bit about this.
This is premium content, y'all.
Yeah, now bear with me. I admit that I was very ignorant about this, and I now am a lot more aware of my ignorance about it, but in very broad, very, what's the word?
Broad terms, basically.
Not broad terms, but to be blunt. To be very blunt and to be very, kind of...
To get to the point.
Yes, there it
Yeah.
is. Getting to the point. I saw, back in the day, probably a good 5+ years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, a video that was talking about how our elites, like in politicians, are meeting up at a place and they're all wearing these robes and performing these paganistic rituals and sacrificial rituals. And
So
I was
to be clear, you watched a YouTube probably propaganda.
I forgot the guy's name. He was fairly popular though. He was literally walking up.
Conspiracy theories are really popular on YouTube.
He was approaching these
Yeah.
politicians outside of these places and confronting them. They were like, oh no, that's not my place to talk about that. That's not my, they were very hush hush about what they were doing there. And so he made it seem like, oh yeah, there's this big owl statue and that they're making these sacrifices, setting things on fire. So I literally in my mind thought, okay, pagans are no good. This must be evil. This must be... You know what I mean? I literally was putting that image in my head and associating it with pagans. And so I just, for some reason, steered clear of it from then on, just because it didn't necessarily interest me to want to know what that was about.
Well, I think that's an important thing to address is that, modern society doesn't have that much representation for paganism. And that's what we're kind of learning when you're looking at writing children's books that introduce pagan, ideologies and rituals and things that
kind of
there's not much that really show.
There's not much what?
No, I was saying to kind of set the record straight so people aren't brought up to view things in the way that I've been brought up to view them.
Because, if you only get little snips of it here and there and then...
Don't research.
It's not an accurate representation when you do see it, then...
Terrible podcast!
I'm so sorry. I literally put
This is our first
silent.
episode,
Woo!
y'all, so...
I will turn all my
I legit
alarms off.
said, hey, y'all,
We are hot
at the
mess
beginning of
humans.
this, let's turn our phones to silent.
Sam totally did.
I seriously did turn it to silent. That's why I'm so confused right now because my thing
it
is
was an
on
alarm,
vibrate, but it's an
probably.
alarm. Yes, I didn't set all
well.
my alarms off, so and I have so many. So I
So now we
apologize.
have a new checklist pre-record. We have to
Turn
It's
off
fine.
the
This
alarm.
is informal.
Notifications are
Informal
on.
podcast.
Informal podcast.
I am so sorry. Back to topic here. I
Right.
apologize.
That's fine.
Yeah, paganism has been misrepresented for a long time. And so to
Well, and Wiccans too, in that matter, because like if we think of a witch from like anything that's been represented on media, you think of some like
Yeah.
personally, anyways, which is kind of also going to be blunt and very in a box to say, but
So you're going to be coming at this podcast then more or less as sort of a skeptic.
rediscovering. Well, no, I'm rediscovering because let me say.
Okay, I like that word better. I think that's
Well, because let me
fair.
say this. I honestly, upon researching this more, have noticed that I do resonate a lot with their core beliefs. Like, I literally, what I actually have noticed is that I resonate with, like, Mother Earth and nature. Like, I really do prioritize, or I want to prioritize more in my life, the preservation of our Earth.
yeah.
I believe in freedom of choice. Like, people should believe in whatever they want to believe in, and it's to each their own. I believe in kind of reincarnation / karma, like treating others the way you want to be treated, and what goes around comes back around. I believe in, like, male-female energy balance. Like, I think that there's, like, a yin-yang to things. Like, I don't know. Those
Yeah.
are all sort
I
of
don't know
things
if I
that
put it on
resonate slightly
it-
with
yeah.
what they believe in, so...
I actually have grown to not really like that the gendered terminology of that, but I do believe in balances
Yeah.
in general. Yeah. I'm sure this is something that we're going to talk about throughout the podcast.
True.
Yeah.
Not to go too into depth right now, right? I agree.
But this, so now everyone kind of knows what our idea for the podcast is and kind of how this came about.
Why we agreed upon Coven for our name.
Yeah,
That's
and
all
yeah.
we had. Then we kind of went on a tangent, which we're going to
and
do
that
a
will
lot.
probably inform some of the content that we have here in the podcast throughout the time that we do it.
Also, we should note we are also obviously located in the Midwest.
Yes.
Yes, we are Midwestern girls through and through, I think. And all in sort of in our unique ways, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how we sort of go through this process together in a way and sort of see what our different experiences with some of these things are. Because I think we're probably going to want to learn about things and we might share some of that with our podcast.
Yeah.
But we're like people, you know, we're just normal humans who do things out in the world and are
And
also
we haven't-
experiencing life right now.
Right,
you know,
we're learning and we want people to learn with us, / if we can
yeah,
offer any
and we're
of that.
interested in a lot of things like, you know, pop
Yeah.
culture. You know, I'm a PhD student. Sam, you're a homemaker, and you used to be in the National Guard, and so you have this whole host of experience as well. And Susie,
I'm more or less the retail / management world, which, you know, I'm
but
not
that's
doing
like
home caregiving.
So many
though.
people
Yeah.
these days work in retail. That's
I'm a
so
new mom,
relatable.
so I have mom stuff going on, and you know,
Yeah.
there's different things that, there's just so many experiences that each of us are always going through that we can offer to help, like, give insight to if others want, you know, kind of.
I think we all
First-hand
have
view.
3 different like perspectives, and
Yes.
it's not like, at least I don't know how much you guys hang out all the time, but like I don't hang out with you guys on a weekly basis, which is now what we're going to start doing
Yeah.
this podcast. And
No,
so
that's what I'm super excited
like that
about.
relationship developing on top of it being in front of all of our viewers is going to be
Well, and to be honest, when we were
experience for
kids, it
everyone.
was kind of
Yeah.
a sad, I mean, not sad, but life just happens, unfortunately, everybody knows, and when you get older, you sometimes do, like, get life going on, and you don't really make the time for the things that are really valuable in life, like family. And when we were younger, we used to every weekend get together and get to see each other, and it's kind of like we get to rekindle that bond again,
Yeah.
which is really nice. Like, we can kind of,
Yeah.
and also, hand in hand, give it to our kids, and
who
hopefully...
get to play together. Yeah.
Yeah, while we're doing this. So it's kind of like a circle of life sort of thing.
yeah.
But and also the thing that's nice too is that we get to talk about stuff that we normally don't get to that actually matters to us and that hopefully matters to
Yeah.
other people.
And
Yeah.
I hope that in doing this, we can sort of grow our covenor, or
Our coven, yes, your covenant,
yeah.
Our cabinet.
yes,
In a
Our
way,
coven
yes.
officials.
So I'd really like us to sort of grow our coven through people listening and participating with us on our social media sites and things like that. And, you know, joining our conversations.
well, it's all about
On
the
those
community
channels.
of people. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but yes,
No,
Well,
that's
and I
fine,
was
yeah.
learning, like, just in researching, like, things to begin with and starting our coven and whatever. You can be your own damn coven. You can be one person and claim yourself into be in a coven and practice your own ways and your own rituals and just own your own whatever you want it to be.
Whatever your belief
and
is.
It doesn't have to necessarily fit a strict guideline, and that's
The beauty of it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's one thing that I like about the paganism belief is the fact that, you know, everybody has their own way of believing things, and that's the best thing to have, really, because then, yeah, you have the freedom to believe what you want and do what you want, and so does everyone else.
Yeah.
But anyways, so
Well, but if we want people to join us on this journey, I think they need to get to know us a little bit better.
sure.
So, we have prepared some topics and activities to sort of do that.
Which one to
So
start
first,
with?
I think we should do Never Have I Ever.
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll each go around and we'll do one round of Never Have I Ever Done whatever, and then
Okay.
we'll just. I mean, we're not gonna drink or whatever.
Who are we
but
starting
we have some
with?
coffee. I'll have a sip of my caffeinate. I don't know. Is that really a
Caffeine.
punishment? Not really, or whatever.
The drug of the morning. Not really, but
I mean, technically, kind of. It does. I mean, it causes a chemical reaction like a drug.
Yeah, it's addictive.
It is. It's a morning drug for sure.
We're not ashamed to say it. We are coffee
I'm gonna
addicts.
take a shot of my freaking caffeine, baby.
who are we gonna never have I ever with?
Yeah, who-
First.
So, would one of you like to go first?
I
Sam, why don't
mean,
you
actually, how about I'll go first because we were already kind of talking about what my never have I ever was. We were talking about kind of rituals
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like
Okay.
that. So,
All right, so go for
Take
it.
the floor.
so my never have I ever, hold on really quick, is... I want to make sure I word it correctly because it's very important, the wording on mine. You guys know why. Okay, so I put, never have I ever performed a sacred ritual or engaged in serious magical practices. For instance, like charging stones or performing witchcraft or like...
And we both challenged her on this.
Well, because at first I think I termed it in the term of I've never performed a ritual, which
Yeah,
isn't
that's
very
true.
true. Because
Yeah.
after they broke it down, like I think in my mind I had ritual in my mind as like I was just saying, like a sacred sort of ritual or like a magical.
But like I said, you were part of my blessing way, and that's a sacred thing. And then
that's true.
just
I never
even
really,
like regular holidays. And I know isn't Corey's family like super Irish? Don't they have like festivals, like Irish
Yeah.
festivals that
I
they?
mean, they do, but we don't participate in them. I guess. Like
so
I've never
I would
gone
agree,
to
like,
one.
with your newly worded way of saying this question, because full disclosure to our listeners, we discussed that we needed to come up with a question and we put it into a document today so we wouldn't forget what we wanted our never have I ever to be because we are planners, y'all.
You gotta do these things.
Only when
There's too much
convenient.
ADD.
that military
So
life. I
we
have to make my
challenged her
list.
immediately instead of waiting for the podcast because, you know, we are impatient humans. And so her original
My original
wording was like, I have never performed in a ritual or done a ritual or something very
Yeah,
close to
I've
that.
never
So it's very
participated in a
general.
ritual.
And we were like, but
Wait a minute.
actually,
No. So I agree in the sense that yes, I have actually participated in rituals, but like I'm saying more or less along the lines of something more sacred.
Yeah.
Like something like within
Intentional.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I more.
So I would have
which I
to
shouldn't say
say
that necessarily because I have engaged in like prayer and like gratitude rituals
Yes.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So,
Thanksgiving and like thankfulness
Right.
and
right.
But and I think we sort of have this weird view of what a ritual is, and like really it can come down to even just routines that we do for ourselves during the day. We cleanse ourselves. This is basically like a ritual for most of us. We do it in a very
rituals are
specific
not
way, because that's why-
sacrifices. Like
is that? I'm
people
sorry.
like people I think sometimes get this like evil like demonic worshiping vibe when they hear the word ritual.
Kind of like the video
Yes.
that you saw.
Yes,
on
honestly,
YouTube.
I think that's partially what I put it into the box
and
with,
they think
you know?
like like blood and like drinking from a goblet of whatever
let's
is in
sacrifice
there
this lamb and set this child on fire and eat it. Like
yeah, and like
evil, evil,
so they're
evil.
kind of just shunned away because like oh no they're doing rituals again like those
those pagans. I'm so sorry. No, we can't edit that out.
when really like my rituals are like oh it's like autumn I'm gonna go make some soup now with like my thyme and my rosemary
right. It's
You're
so
like, I'm a
something-
witchy witch. and my
and-
potion is
Well,
my
you know what's
stew.
funny about that is that
Yeah.
it actually more or less reminds me of Practical Magic. Remember that movie with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman and how they had like an herbal garden and they made potions and they made like, stuff like that. But it wasn't necessarily like super witchy, but it was,
It's like low-key witchy.
Yeah, like, I mean, I like that a little bit, I
Yeah.
guess, because there's still some valid, like, herbal medicines that are going on there. There's still some very valid, like, old ways that, old cultures have done that obviously work. So why not keep the good ones going, I guess, and not forget about them? Because, yeah. I feel like I don't use those things and I don't really practice that, but at the same time I could see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
And why it would benefit someone to be
Well,
practicing
the thing
them.
that I'm like really starting to learn more about, because like I said, I didn't really seek out to be like learning pagan texts and like learning things. It's just the things that I knew about paganism is what I resonated with. And I just lived my life the way I lived it and didn't really seek out ways to be more pagan or be more like a Wiccan or like, it's just what I did.
So you're finding
Right.
really what happened is you just found out that you just are.
Yeah, this is
more
like,
like a
who I,
pagan.
this is where I identify.
In all
Yeah.
fairness, it's actually kind of what happened with me too, because I was more like, I didn't really super identify myself with any specific religion. I knew that I was like spiritual. I always believed in like a bigger entity than ourselves, but I never really like, I shouldn't say entity, like one entity, but I've always believed in like, something greater than ourselves. But basically, I never put a label on it. But then after I started researching like the paganism and stuff, and I resonated with it, it was kind of like, am I a pagan? Like, I don't know.
like with homeschooling
if I were to put a label on
Dylan,
it.
well, like with homeschooling Dylan, now I have like the perfect opportunity for me to actually start learning like the different things about paganism because he's curious about it. So this month we started learning about like the moon phases and like how they affect different things, and so I don't know.
Well,
I'm excited about it, and he's excited about it, which I'm excited that he's excited, and it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
great
I
that
think it
we're
gives you
both
something to
learning
do
about it
together.
together.
Dude,
Yeah,
I feel like that's what life's
And-
about. Like, I feel like as spiritual beings, it is our purpose on light or on earth to express ourselves and to find and discover the things that help us express ourselves. And if that's something that resonates well with you guys and it's helping, like, I really do applaud it and I think it's a good idea. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
Helping people be creative and helping kids learn.
I think it's going to be exciting to see like just how we sort of go through this, and I'm a little bit of a skeptic too. I have no qualms in admitting that I go back and forth about whether or not I believe in like a higher power, right? Like whether or not there's some one deity or like some collection of deities, or like whether or not there just like is some energy that is greater than us or whatever. And I tend to err more on the side of energies, but I think part of that is the skeptic in me. Like I am an academic at heart. I can't help myself. So like I try and logic everything. So if we're looking more like at energies and like sort of how the earth works and like whatever, I can kind of get behind that in a certain way because
Scientifically, like-
you can look at it from a scientific perspective in some ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of why I'm sort of drawn to it.
I can
In
see
part.
that.
Yeah.
So basically there was a person on, and I know this is like back, I forget how long ago, but you guys remember The Secret? There was somebody that said a quote on there, and I can't remember quite what it was, so forgive me for it not being quite on par, but it said something along the lines, if you ask a scientist what is energy, they will tell you that it is, oh gosh, I'm messing this up so bad, hold on. Somebody talk about something for a second while I look it up.
So I think whatever quote you're trying to look up right now, that might be a good way to wrap up your Never Have I Ever. So why don't we go around and say where we're at on that Never Have I Ever. So Never Have I Ever performed this intricately worded
Yeah,
and exclusionary version of a ritual to make it sound more pagan. I would have to say I have, because I agree, like your blessing way, that was like sacred ritual to you. It didn't go as planned because everybody else was kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, there was too many people there that I don't think really got the same vibes brought the same vibes that they should have for it being what it was.
Yeah, and I think some of it
I-
goes down to like they probably didn't. They dismissed it because it's not their religion in some of the specific instances there, and in others they probably maybe just didn't understand like the significance of it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like and it was hard to separate it from like a baby shower from like my blessing way, because in theory I should have probably had two separate gatherings.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I didn't, because that was like the week before COVID hit, and
so before we got like locked down, they were like, "You staying inside?" And we were
Yeah.
like, all right.
So I'm glad I just had one, and everyone was there, and I got to see everyone one last time before.
Yeah, it was really
Coming to
and I think
this.
it went well,
Yeah.
even though some of the more spiritual parts of it for you
And my
did not
house
go as
didn't
planned, which was
collapse.
unfortunate.
That could be a whole different episode, but I'm terrified every single day of my life that my house is just going to collapse one time. Like when I'm taking a bath, I'm terrified that it's just going to fall through the floor. And like every time like the cabinets like pop or creak, because they do that all the time. Our house is like over 100 years old, so it makes all these noises, and I'm always like, yep, the floor is just going to fall through. And like I'm terrified all the time, but
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie.
so
that
having
many
that
people
many
there?
people there, yeah, that was the most people I've ever had in my house at one time, and I was just like, wow, we made it through it. Like,
It's all right.
okay.
So you're but you would say you have performed a ritual.
Yeah, like my blessing way for sure. And
Yeah.
then just like even every day, like I have my altar like above my fireplace where I have my crystals and my incense and pictures of things, and I have like special jewelry and stuff up there, and art that Dylan made me, and just like meaningful things that we keep kind of centered in the middle of the room that we are in the most.
Yeah.
And
I like
And so
that.
Susie,
So
you still hold true to your, even with it so karate ninja worded.
yeah, no, honestly, I couldn't find it on there, but I'll try to sum
you
it
could.
up.
Well, but would
Wait.
you end up drinking your caffeine shot?
would you say that
To
you
your
actually
own
did a
Never Have
ritual
I
now?
Ever?
Yes,
You've done something, yeah.
Take a
yeah.
drink. She's down, y'all. She's did it.
Got it.
All right. So are we going to you
So-
clockwise or
Do you guys want me to go? I can.
Sure.
either way?
Okay. So mine is never have I ever seen a ghost.
Okay. So this could just having PTSD. I see people in shadows a lot. So I don't know if you would consider that the same as like a ghost, but I definitely like feel presences in them a lot of the time. So
I mean,
that's a mental health thing. That could be like a whole different
Yeah.
episode. But for me, I would say yes. And just also, like I said, when I was pregnant with Leviathan, like I would tease Trevor all the time. Like, there's spirits around me waiting to be born into this child when he comes Earthside. Like, which I totally believe in, but at the same time, like, I just kind of, he doesn't really believe in it, so that's why it's kind of funny to, like, tease him, because he's, like, he knows that I believe in it fully, so he knows that I actually think there's spirits here, and that I can sense their presence, which I can, like, at times, and then, like, so it's just funny to tease him.
So basically, two things that are like kind of resonating with me is two things. So I read a book a long time ago. It was called Many Lives, Many Masters, and it talks about kind of a near-death experience that this person had. And in their near-death experience, I think that's what it was called. And I mean, this is what I'm remembering from what I got from it. But basically, he was talking about how in his near-death experience, his spirit went to like this place where almost all of the other spirits hung out. And, like, he could, like, remember, like, oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember what I was going at with this, because you were talking about sensing spirit. Oh, and then he was talking about how, like, once a body is ready for another spirit to, like, almost, go into it, like, you get this excitement as a spirit, like, oh, it's my turn. Ooh, it's my turn. And then, like...
Your energy built up.
Yeah, and then as you return to that place, you get, like, almost a, like, what's the word, like a remembering feeling, or like a
Deja vu kind of.
not sort of like you've been there before, like a very comforting, like I'm home feeling is what he described in the book. So it was just kind of interesting to think about if there are spirits waiting maybe like around for a body to just like come into the earth, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, this is just what it reminded me of randomly. But anyways,
Did you, when you were pregnant, did you ever feel like there was energies around you, or like I know you didn't like believe in that per se then, but like
well,
was
no,
it...
like so personally, not when I was pregnant, but like I remember as a little kid, I used to get afraid of the stairs, the basement. I don't know why, but every time that I would go from the basement, I would always shut off the lights, close the door, and I would run up the stairs as fast as I could and close the gate to like keep them downstairs.
in the basement.
Yes, like I don't know what it was about that, but it literally every single time I remember as a kid, I would always
That
feel
might
like I
just be a
had to
kid
do that.
thing.
I think it might
Basements
be just because
Closets and the dark in general.
I'm not too bad with like closets and stuff, but basements for sure. Like if I go downstairs, like I just get creeped out down there. I don't know
creep
why.
factor about a basement.
It's just like
The
it's
garage.
just a creep factor. I don't
a little
know.
bit.
Yeah,
There's
well,
always a basement for me too, though. Like I don't know what it
but
was.
this puts me in a very weird situation as a Midwest girl because I'm also like very afraid of bad storms and potential tornadoes.
Yeah,
Like, this is like,
so going to the
basically
basement is
comforting.
safe zone, but at the same time,
but it's also not.
That's where the spirits are. That's where the ghosts are.
like in Signs, when they go to the basement and then like the hands of the aliens come out of like the coal chute and like wrap around the boy. That's what's in the basement. You can't.
You can't go down there.
Oh my gosh.
Or was it on Home Alone where they got like the thing that has the terrifying voice that he's afraid of in the
it
furnace?
turns into the furnace monster thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
Well,
must be a
and like
kid
our
thing.
brothers were obsessed with Goosebumps and like things like that. That
might have also fed
all those
into our fear
monsters.
of. Well, speaking of Goosebumps, remember the Poltergeist story? So, anyways, there was this one episode of it where, like, they draw a line on the wall, like a door frame, and a
vaguely
monster comes
remember
out of
this.
the wall. Well, that night, I was having nightmares, like,
Oh, I know what
something
story you're about
fierce.
to tell.
Oh my god, yes. So, this one's gold. So, basically, when I was a kid, we watched Goosebumps, and they did, like, or maybe it was Are You Afraid of the Dark? Actually, that might have been it.
Something.
But it was around the same time frame we were watching both, and like Tales of the Crypt and all that stuff. So good times. But anyways, they drew a chalk line on the wall of a door frame, and then a monster comes out of the wall. Well, that night when I went to go to sleep, I could not sleep. I was terrified that a monster was going to come busting out of the wall. and I was like, oh my god, Scott, my brother Scott, he was the top bunk and I was the bottom bunk. And I was just, tossing and turning and crying and throwing fits, whatever. I couldn't let him sleep because of it. And so I went in my mom's room like, Mom, a ghost is going to come out of the room. Mom, a ghost is going to come out of the wall. And she's like, no, it's okay, babe, it's okay, and tried to comfort me, but I couldn't get comforted. But then my brother, out of nowhere, turns over and he's like, what's wrong? I was like, ghost is going to come out of the wall. And he's like, no, it's not. Only poltergeists can do that. And for
Just so
some
matter-of-factly,
reason,
apparently.
yeah, he said it so matter-of-factly, like it was just nothing to even be afraid of. And for some reason, that
You
was all
believed him?
that was enough for me to turn around and fall right to sleep.
Okay, good night.
My mom was so shocked. She was laughing her ass off. She was like, so the term poltergeist didn't even make her afraid or anything. It was
It's like, I don't know what
as long
that
as
is.
the ghost can't get me, I'm fine.
whatever.
Right? So, anyways.
Oh my god.
Okay.
You were just like a funny kid in general. I mean, I'm gonna save stories because
There's good ones.
Yeah.
there are good ones when it comes to Susie. Oh my god, she was.
Would you still say you haven't seen any ghosts then, or like felt it? Have you felt
Well,
the presence of
I
anything?
feel like I've felt like differences in energy, maybe
Yeah.
around me.
But specifically seen.
But whether or not I believe that's souls or not is maybe a little bit more up in the air and up to
Interpretation
interpretation to me.
Yeah.
In my eyes. But I've definitely felt shifts in energy, and maybe that's just something internal in me. I don't know, but I know I've felt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe it's something external. Maybe it's something internal. I don't know.
Well, one more thing that I can add to that subject is the fact that Corey's mom, Mel, has had 2 aneurysms,
Yeah.
and she's been in like nearly a half paralyzed state for
Very long time.
a very long
Yeah.
time. And she constantly is saying, "Oh, the dead people say they love you. The dead people." And
Yeah.
she'll name specific ones. Sometimes.
Well, she tells us grandma all the time.
Oh yes, grandma
Yeah.
all the time. And when we're at her house, grandma wants a hug. Grandma wants a hug.
Mm-hmm.
She's always saying that. And even like Kelly, she's always saying that your grandma says that she loves Kelly with all her heart. And like there's just different things. And then like even the story about Aaron, the kid that lived across the street from them as kids. There was one day they were playing or whatever, and Mel was saying to him, "Yeah, your grandma says she loves you. Your grandma says she loves you." And he was like, "I've never even met my grandma. Why did my grandma say that? I don't even know her. What's her name?" You know, try to put her on the
No.
spot. And she was like, "Margaret." And she can hardly speak, like, really. So for her to actually say a name very, like, thoroughly like that was kind of amazing. And then, so get this, though. So Aaron never met his grandmother, never knew her name, went across the street and asked his mom what his grandmother's name is, and sure enough, it was Margaret. And, yeah, it was just crazy to think about stuff like that. So I do, at core, believe, and there's times when she'll say, "God says he loves you." And that's when I'm like, what? Like, so I don't know. But then again, sometimes she'll be like, "Oh, I need a cigarette," and then God'll do something for you if you give me a cigarette. Yeah. So she sometimes uses it to her own manipulation too. So she's like,
And
sometimes you gotta take it with a grain of salt.
I think a lot of people just put the word God on whatever they see as the higher entity.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's not necessarily associated with a certain religion. It's
I
just
think that's
what
fair,
the symbolism of God is,
right.
you know.
Right.
So
Well, and it is cool to kind of. I get chills when she does say things like that because it does make you wonder. Because I've heard of people that are in those paralytic states. When they come back, they have seen things and they have experienced things, or like they've
Yeah.
done like those, when you have near death experiences and such. Like there's some really valid information that has been had. That's interesting
So
to think about.
I guess then on mine, I'd have to say definitely I have not seen a ghost, but I've felt things that maybe could be open to interpretation as ghosts.
yeah.
Question mark.
Maybe not enough to validate a drink, but
Yeah.
I'll take a tiny swig.
Yeah.
How about that? Take a tiny. Okay, but how about the
So
two?
mine, yeah. Well,
So you guys were kind of like, sort of, yeah, maybe.
yeah, I definitely felt the presence of spirits, I would say.
Yeah.
So, but along the lines of like seeing a ghost, I think again goes back to kind of like symbolism of
Yeah.
what modern day says a ghost is.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's
Yeah. No, I think that's a totally fair answer.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have
My
one
question?
more. We have one more. Never have I ever. Last but very not least, Sam.
So mine was never have I ever used a Ouija board, which this might be like a hot debate topic, but
So I have to drink to this one because I have.
I have as well.
I'll drink my
I
drink.
mean, I was a teenage witch. I literally
And-
bought books. So
after they said that they have, then I might have remembered like them pulling me into it at some like I might have done it with you guys at your house then.
I feel like we didn't have one at our house though.
No,
I think
I thought
we
it might have been
had
over
it-
at Jenny and Julie's down the street.
I
And
think-
it might have been like at
I
like
think
an
they may have
overnight
had
slumber
it-
party
I
type
know
of thing.
I've done it at slumber parties. Let's just put it that way.
yeah,
But I've been to so many over the years with, different friends of mine
But-
that I don't necessarily remember which ones.
But I do kind of
I
remember
did it at,
also participating in sort of a Ouija board-ish experience. And then
So
like
maybe
that,
it was
that
Jenny
light
and
is a
Julie's,
feather,
maybe.
stiff as a board. I remember we used to do that
Oh
with
yeah,
me and
did
Julie.
that all the time.
And then,
yeah.
yeah, we used to do a few things. I think it was around the time that the craft was popular because they did
Oh,
it
I'm
on
sure.
there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah,
I
we
have
wanted
zero
our
doubt.
take on that, But
Well, and I also love that. Like, have you guys ever seen the really? It's so kitschy, but it's Teen Witch. I think it's called the movie. Oh my god, it's wonderful and also kind of terrible at the same time. I love it so much.
We'll have to
I'm gonna
check
have to make
that
you guys
out.
watch it sometime. We're gonna have like.
We'll
We're
see.
gonna have to watch it and talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. I'll put that in our notes. What was it called? Teen Witch?
Maybe we'll do
Teen
a
Witch.
watch along with our listeners
We could do like a reacts
Ooh.
video or something. I don't know, or a react,
or react
podcast.
or a live stream and like, hey, we're gonna
A live watch with us? Or watch along? We'll figure that out. We'll think we'll
yeah.
keep you
only on
posted.
Patreon.
We'll keep you posted.
So I think that this is actually a really good segue to our next get to know us themed
Yeah.
theme.
Currently watching and reading and listening to all the things.
Yeah, so I figure we could each pick one or maybe two things. It doesn't have to be a television show or a movie. It doesn't have to be a podcast, but it could be like whatever.
I wrote a whole spiel, girl.
Let's have it. You're ready.
No, but so homeschooling is basically everything that I watch and read is somewhat associated to that. So we just subscribe to Curiosity Stream, which is like a subscription service that just has documentaries on it.
Nice.
So we watch documentaries, and then we're learning currently about Japan. So we watched a origami documentary the other day, and he loved it. And
is he
so
practicing origami?
Yeah, we've made monkeys so far and little jumping frogs. So
our mom is really good at origami. So
maybe, well, yeah, because maybe next week we'll come over and do that. Because I usually bring him over on Mondays, but he's not here today, so.
But yeah,
but then we're also doing Johnny Appleseed. We're doing Johnny Appleseed, so he's going to go to his other grandma's, Trevor's mom, and make apple dumplings with her.
Aww.
And so we're learning about leaves and the moon, and so we watch the documentaries all related to those things, and then there's sometimes YouTube videos that we watch related to those things that are suggested by the curriculum that I'm following for his homeschool.
Well, and see, that's one of the things that I'm really liking about the homeschooling idea is the fact that you're able to give him real life value on what he can use it. You know what I mean? Like in school, sometimes by the time you leave that building, you can't really put it to practical use in your life. Whereas when you're learning it at home within like he's learning how to cook, he's learning history, he's learning...
Well, could you imagine teaching 30 children at one time how to fold an origami balloon? Or,
Seriously.
you know, so like in a homeschooling level, when you just have one child or maybe like 2 or 3 siblings, you can sit down and like your patience is able to be spent on just one child instead of spread so thin that you can't keep up with it. And like at that age, they really need the one-on-one interaction because they...
Frankly, I don't think that need for more individual attention ever goes away. I mean, I teach at the college level, and I think our classes are far too large for us to really give adequate attention to each of our students. Like, I mean, granted, I think that the classes can be a little bit larger because at that point you should be taking on some of the responsibility for your own learning. A lot of it is going to be more personally led. You're going to have readings, you know, discussion questions that you may not ever have to turn in, but you should do them. We assign those things for a reason because it's meant to help you critically think about the content that you've been reading. And so, like, even so, though, like, if I have 20 to 25 students in a class, like, I mean, granted, I probably give more time than I get paid for, honestly.
Which is a lot of teachers.
Lots of teachers,
Educators care about who they're educating and making sure that they actually... I mean, a lot of them. I'm sure there's some out there that are... whatever, it's just a job.
But everybody's needs are a little bit different. So it's, you know, if you want to give really good feedback and, you know, really help a student, it takes some individualized attention.
Yeah, I think it takes the time to get to know the student, first off. And by the time you get to know that many students, it's time to turn around for the next semester. And so when you... which I'm learning a lot about Waldorf education, which I'm going to send you the podcast link to that because I think being a new mom, it would be informative to listen to. But like they teach about just like learning the basic things at the time. Like at the elementary level, you introduce just like red and you explore like how to color with just red. And then, like, you learn yellow, like, the next year. And, like, it's not, like, I don't know everything about it. I'm just discovering it and being a new homeschool mom because of all this things going on.
But the concept seems to be a good idea.
It makes so much more sense that, like, giving the child the time to soak in what they're learning instead of just rolling on to the next thing every 5 seconds, which I think, like, the televisions encourage, you know, like... So when we do like documentaries and like YouTube, like we only do it like one day of the week and we try to like really tone it into what we're learning about and not go off of that, which is hard having a other man in the house, like because he was, especially right now, football's on and like, so, and that's his way of like winding down at the end of the night is watching television. So, like, I can't really take that away from him. He's a grown up, but at the same time,
It's
I want to really
encouraging
limit
yours.
it from Dylan because, like, I am seeing such the difference in his learning, in his patience, and even, like, his eczema. Like, his arms are completely cured, which when he was in public school, he had so much anxiety that he would just scratch himself all the time. And so...
Yeah, we've talked a little bit before about my qualms about the education system, and I have a love-hate relationship with it, and you guys have heard me talk about it. Well, we're going to have to talk about more of that in the future. Like,
Yeah,
your homeschooling
it's going to be a whole other...
experience, like my experience teaching, etc.
My
I think
experience
we
as a
need...
manager trying to teach people and train people.
I probably went too far into it on
No,
already.
that's okay. No.
Those are good topics for us
It's
to go
really
back to
interesting, and
in the future. So.
Yeah.
You've barely broken the surface, really, about
Right.
like...
Yeah,
We're just gonna
everything
have to-
we could.
Well,
we
and
need to
just
have a
really
podcast about it
quick,
in
the
future.
other thing that I had to say about the whole one-on-one / the like benefit of that training is that even some of the videos that I've been watching lately is they recommend having a coach, like a one-on-one coach that can hold you accountable, that can help you set goals, that can help you attain like what you're wanting. Because a lot of times, if you don't have a person that's helping you focus on what you want, it's so easy to get distracted and to just not hold yourself accountable because of the way
Kind of
that
like a life
everybody is.
manager.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Except for
It's
most
just-
people can't afford one of those.
True, but that's why it's good to have a coven that can help support
Yes,
each other
yeah.
and a
Yeah, and
sisterhood
we're
to rely
gonna
on each
encourage
other.
growth and
Well, because everybody
Absolutely.
should have like
curiosity.
a little, yeah. Like I feel like this has been so beneficial to me as a person. I'm hoping it's been beneficial to you guys too. But I really do. I feel like if everybody had something like this, that they could all kind of express themselves and just like encourage each other and support each other and play
Yeah.
devil's advocate for each other. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Or
it's
hear
something
how
valuable to
Some are having
have.
similar experiences than them, perhaps, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's valuable, I think,
Mm-hmm.
what this is. And I think other people, if they are listening to this and they have somebody that they, you know, if they have a similar situation that they aren't recording or whatever, like honestly, one of the values that we're finding in recording these things is that, you know, in years to come, this will be nostalgic to come back to and listen to again, like to hear our thoughts and to hear our conversations and to,
See
you
how
know,
we've grown from now to then.
yeah, like
Like
there's
all that,
such
yeah.
there's such benefits to doing this that regardless of like we were saying, regardless of
Yeah.
followers or income or anything, like this is going to be cool. And if there's anybody else that is out there listening in the future to this, that I would encourage you to do the same thing, regardless of any of your
Yeah.
followers or whatever. Just get a group of people
Start
that
a
you love to
coven,
hang
man.
out with, and yeah, start your own coven, seriously, or join ours, and we'll, you know,
Yeah.
help you get
Join us
there.
online,
Like,
man.
So pull us back in though. Are you guys reading anything or watching anything?
How about you?
always,
Always.
What do you want to share?
So like, I mean.
All the things.
All the things. So besides like Cocomelon and Dot, which I use sometimes with the baby.
What is this?
What? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking
Coco
about.
Melon and Dot.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
basically there's a show on Hulu that I like. It's called Dot. It's about this girl that like, kind of like anyways, it's a cute little show that I put on sometimes as background noise or whatever, like if I'm feeding Kelly or like, you know. But anyways, and then there's Cocomelon, which is like kind of learning for kids. It's like sing-along songs
Okay.
and stuff. So those
Yeah.
are the two kid shows that I kind of go to as my, when I am, because I used to allow it a lot more than I did now, but now
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, oh God, don't let her see it too much. Don't
You're
let her
waking
be
up
way
to
too.
it.
Yeah, like seriously. So, but when I do give her Showtime, those are the two shows that I have on. But anyways, but when it comes to me personally, the shows that I actually just recently finished that Marilyn recommended to me that were really good were Watchmen
Mm-hmm.
and Love Country, I think it's called.
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country. I like that one. And then there's another one that's very similar, not very similar to Watchmen, but it reminds me sort of Watchmen, but it's more or less about the like back in Nazi Germany, there was a Jewish
Hunters. I think it's
Hunters,
called.
yes.
I think Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are the three shows that I've recently been watching that I found were good, that, you know, were worth my...
Yeah.
They were entertaining. They were very entertaining, and they were thought-provoking.
So I'd have to say, currently watching. Well, I mean, obviously I've watched the things that I recommended to you, but I've been rewatching True Blood.
Ooh, yeah. That is one show that I have watched all the way through. Like when I
Yeah.
say I'm not really a TV person like that, I've watched all of Dexter.
Oh, I love that.
Listen to like Bill Compton.
I just finally watched Fringe all the way through. Like I've tried to watch it all the way through so many times, so many different times.
Joshua Jackson.
See, that's how I am with with True Blood. I've tried to watch True Blood, but I watched
never
the first episode, like 2 episodes, and then that's it. Yeah.
I usually made it to like season 3 to Fringe, and then I just got lost in the storyline because it gets really complicated. If you miss like an episode and you don't know what's going on, like they time hop and they go back and forth, and then like
It's really good though. Like I
It
do
is.
agree that if you miss something though, it's very like what?
what was that?
I'm lost.
So I'm also, so that's kind of my background noise in terms of watching things, I guess. But I'm also reading. I'm desperately trying to get through an edit of a chapter on my dissertation. So I'm like, I've been sort of reading that, but I mean, with everything that's been going on in the world, it's been really hard to concentrate on things. Like the way my anxiety affects me is like high order thinking is sometimes very difficult when I'm anxious.
Yeah.
So, so it's been very difficult to get through it, but I'm almost done. So I'm trying to get through that. But so my reading is my dissertation and like related journal articles and things on like transmedia adaptation and such.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's another thing that I watch too is like just school related things for my own school. Like now that everything's online, I have to watch his video demonstrations of everything and then try to follow along with my program and then switch back and forth with only having one screen like between the video that he's showing me and my program that I'm trying to do it in, and that's fun.
That's super quick, just to touch on kind of what you were just talking about. You were talking about how, you have your dissertation that you have to do, and obviously we're taking time doing this, and I know that you're helping out with, like, Aunt Bev and her stuff. Like, one of the things that I read recently was this book called Thinking for a Change by John C. Maxwell. And one of the things that it does, it kind of, like, helps you almost, like, reframe the way that you're thinking and, like, kind of figure out how to prioritize things and think your things through and stuff. And it helped me. I don't know if it would help you or not, but just if you guys want it, I would be more than willing. I have it right here, actually. I brought it with me. I actually have it right here if you want. One of you guys can, But anyways, I just wanted to at least throw that out there. That's another book that I read that I found value in. So, Thinking for a Change by John C. Maxwell.
So Samantha has
not sponsored by
let us know that her boobs are about to leak because she is breastfeeding. Was that too much information for us? You kind of whispered it.
I feel like they're just gonna start spraying through my shirt though. Soon.
She's like, I need my baby to help me.
Well, no,
did we all get through our currently watching and all that?
Yeah.
Do you have like paper towels?
Yes. Right over here.
I'm gonna just
just like as we wrap it up, we can kind of just wrap these up.
So we had one last thing that we were gonna do. Well, we were gonna do it, I think.
Yes.
Predictions? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it can be silly, it can be serious. It can be...
So mine was lame, so I can go first if you want.
Real, fake, whatever.
Mine was...
Sexy.
My prediction is very predictable. I think my prediction's really predictable, and I think it's very lame, and I think it's going to be accurate, though.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your prediction?
I predict that this episode, by next episode, like, by the next time that we post by the time that we post this episode, and it rolls out into the next week's episode, it'll get 5 likes and 5 views, at least.
I think that's doable because each of us will probably listen to it.
That's exactly why it's so lame.
I feel like we might already have that before we even post it, girl.
So do you think maybe I should just make it up to like...
No, that's your prediction. That's
my prediction.
We're just...
You make
mean.
reasonable predictions.
Yeah.
I just want to have a very what's the word? I'm going for the track record of being right here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
So my
we'll
prediction
keep that in mind
was
as we move forward.
just about myself and I predict that I will this week finish my finals, which I'm probably not going to finish all. I have 3. I'm in 3 classes, so I have
So is your
3 that I haven't
prediction-
started any of them yet.
So is your prediction that you actually won't finish, or is
No,
your prediction that you will?
I'm going to predict that I will finish, and it's going to be my motivation to actually do it. But
Hey,
realistically thinking, like, getting 3 whole projects done that I haven't even started yet might...
it's gonna be a feat.
Well,
but-
on top of doing all of Dylan's curriculum this week, which is pretty heavy-handed this week with his homeschooling, so... I do mine after him, so...
she's like,
Okay.
you got this. We
And
believe
will
in
do
you.
it.
We believe
You
in
definitely
you.
do it.
See, mine's all low bar. Hers is like way up here. And I'm like,
I have to work for it.
yeah, you're using this to
Set
like
this bar
inspire
real
you to do
low.
things. I'm using this to be like, I'm right. Oh man, I
I'm going to
feel
go
for a
with-
better one next week.
I'm gonna go with realistic too because I know this is going to have to happen unless something. Well, I guess if that's prediction, then I just have to be right or wrong.
Yeah.
I predict that I'm going to be grading a lot of papers too.
I think that might happen for you.
Yeah, I have so
Wah,
many in
wah.
my queue right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be alright. So we'll see. I feel like our students have been, or my students in particular, but I'm sure that it's being felt across the board. Students have been, not all of them, but more than usual, have been sort of,
Disengaged.
yes, that's a really good word for it, and exactly what I was looking for, I think. Very disengaged, yeah. I
That's
mean,
unfortunate.
even if we,
Understandably, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, then drop out if you're not doing it.
yeah, because I don't want
Wasting your own money at that point.
Someone. I hate failing people, and
Yeah.
but more often than not, when a student fails, it's because A, you can tell that they haven't been doing the work, and B, a lot of times they don't attend class or don't participate in things for class, like they don't do their readings, like it's
Which it's kind of funny because
Yeah.
when you're in high school and you're getting bad grades, it's like, okay, you're being forced into this environment to learn
Yeah.
these things that you
You're
don't really care
literally
to.
paying
But
be here.
yeah,
Way too
when
much,
you're
I think.
yeah, like when you're in
again,
college,
we'll discuss
you're
that
paying for that
someday.
education.
Yeah.
So why would you waste your own time and money like by not applying yourself?
Yeah.
That's why I honestly dropped out of college, was because I could tell that I was wasting my time and money because I wasn't applying myself. Which, in hindsight, I'm sure there was a lot more value if I would have just applied myself and gone that route. But
Yeah.
Go back.
I know, and
You
it's
can
not
always
too
go
late.
back.
Yes, that
It
is very
never
true.
too late.
I think now that I'm doing this, I'm finding out more about myself and more about what I truly want to go to school for. So now when I return to school, I'll
You
actually
being
going
an
back for a purpose.
Being an unmarried mother, you would apply for grants where you wouldn't have to pay to go to school. You would just be able to go and get your education. And
I should have
Ooh.
waited.
Well, because honestly, that is
No,
one of
I
the
mean,
things,
I do and
though.
don't regret it.
But I think that is one of the things, though, that like I would like to eventually, like, I could find value with marketing and with like even business, and I do find that there are some things that I would find valuable. And I think before I discredited some of the required classes, and I thought, oh well, like, why do I need speech? And it's like, it teaches you a lot about communication skills. It really does. And those things
Yeah.
are essential across the board with a lot of careers.
Yeah.
So it's funny that, sometimes when you're a kid and you're like fresh out of high school, you think, oh God, I just want to be free to be me and do what I want and whatever. And why do I want to hinder myself with school?
Well, it's like
when
the
really
class-
it's like you're hindering yourself by not going to school sometimes.
Well, it's like the class that I teach is like meant to like give broad communication skill as well, right? So I teach like it's a required writing course. It has like 2 class sequence basically,
Right.
but it's writing and composition, or rhetoric and composition rather. And so it's basically teaching students how to effectively communicate in academic spaces and
Right.
in more collegiate ways. So yeah, it's another way to ensure people can like effectively communicate big ideas basically.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because even in this, I mean, if we hadn't had good communication skills amongst us growing up, we wouldn't have even been able to do something like this. I mean, granted, we're not perfect at it, and it's not like 100% great, but
even
we're
just
getting
writing a
there.
resume, though, like in today's world, there's so many people
Yeah.
in the job pool that you need to know how to write to represent yourself well
Right.
Yeah.
to get something, worth. Not to saying that like the jobs that don't take resumes aren't worth having, but like to like if you're trying to aspire to reach your dreams, like a lot of times you're going to have to
wanna be
like
able
know
to
how to
compete in
sell
the market.
yourself somehow
And to know how to
in a
give
written
yourself
form and like
right, and to know how to make sure that you can understand what their concepts are, of what they're seeking out. Because if they're seeking out something, like that's one thing that in management before that they would always try to get across to the candidates is, are we what you're looking for too? Because a lot of times if you're not in alignment with what you're seeking out, which is sometimes people are just getting a job to get a job, that's like the worst,
well, a lot of people need to get a job just to have a job. Like,
well, true.
But
But
that's kind of what we're
unfortunately-
going for, is to like not work for anybody, and then we don't have to worry about any of that.
Right,
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's like, it's sad when I can tell that there is somebody that's coming in and applying for a job just so that way they can get any job that they can get, and it's like, you can just tell they're not going to be invested. You can tell there's going to be no interest, there's going to be no ambition to get better, there's going to be no like drive. It's just one of those things that you got to be well aware of what you want and what they want as a company, and if it aligns correctly, because a lot of times if it doesn't, it's just not going to lead to a fair, good situation.
I think effective communication is definitely key to get across, how you feel about things and the world and whatever.
Right,
you know?
exactly. I discredit it then sometimes, the things that they were trying to prove were value to me, and in time I've seen that they are valuable to me. So it's made me reconsider the fact of going back to school to learn niche things that I actually am interested in and want.
Yeah.
You
But
can
also
learn
not
how
to
to
discredit
draw.
the things that they continue. Yes, exactly. But also not to discredit the things that they throw under me, like, hey, you also have to take this.
Right.
I can try to look into that and say, okay, well, where can I apply these things that I'm going to learn within that class to my career?
That's something that I do all the time with my students is in the 203 course, it's a more research-based research writing, basically. But they have to perform some sort of study, quote unquote. I mean, like it's small. I mean, it is a study, but it's small scale and.
But just that
whatever.
way they can get the concept of doing
how to go through the
research.
process and how to write about it. And so one of the
Incredible
things
sources.
that I have my students do is I tell them, you can write about pretty much anything, but you need to make sure that it connects the theme of the class, which I do media, with your major. And there's like so many different ways to do that. If you're in
But either way,
humanities, you can
there's-
look at like how art impacts things, or
But
if
there's
you're
such
in
a
math
variety to choose
major,
from.
yeah, you could look at like data about listener habits or something like that. Like, so there's always different ways into, the
Kind of
media
intertwining the stuff that you're learning to
and
basically
to whatever major they're in, so that way they can write something useful to their educational process.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
No, that's good, because then at least they can already think about it that way when they're taking the class and find,
Try and
okay,
find
well,
connections.
right.
Yep.
All right, well, we've talked for how long now? I
A
mean,
while. I'm hoping all our predictions come true.
yes, yes.
I hope
Typically,
I
they're
actually
really
do
good by
mine, because
Grade those papers.
I don't want to get behind,
those.
because that's what I did last. Well, yeah, obviously I knew that I was in the middle of a semester when I signed up. I was pregnant with Leviathan, so like I had to take my finals the first week of his life, and like I don't want to.
She's like, that was a little fun too.
That was bad
but-
planning for me, because like I knew obviously I could have taken them early, because COVID happened before that, even before
Yeah.
he was born. So I had all the assignments beforehand for some of my classes. One of them I think I still had to wait till the day of, and then it was posted. But
Yeah,
like I could have done more work ahead of time that I did not.
yeah. We're
I
gonna
think
do
we
it,
all.
guys.
I
We're gonna
think
do
we
it.
all procrastinate a little bit. You know.
Procrastinate.
So, I suppose with that. Okay.
So my mom also told me a clever thing that she's like, Leviathan needs his mommy, and I was like, funny, my boobs were just leaking, and then now she just texts me back, oh, he fell asleep and they're not leaking anymore. So like they know
It's like
when
little
he's
ghosts
crying.
coming to talk to your
Yeah,
boobies.
like they know that he's crying over there, and they're like, hey, but for real, we need to go eat goulash.
Yes.
We do. So I
I'm very
suppose with
hungry.
that, we should just say, welcome to our coven, everyone.
Welcome.
And
Welcome.
I think we've all agreed we need to say this episode is brought to you by thenerdboutique.com.
Yes.
Because every teacher has a side hustle, baby.
Right. Go check it out. She's got some really cool stuff. Really great. I would definitely recommend it. She's got high quality merchandise. So
And
you can
guys
check
help me with
out.
things. So
Yeah.
I can pay you guys. See, so you really are helping all of us.
Maybe one day we'll have a mannequin lamp up there for someone to buy.
That would be
show 'em.
awesome. I can't wait. You guys, you should put like a picture on our Instagram.
Yeah,
And
I
we'll,
can. And then that could be maybe one of our big prizes for somebody to
Oh, snap.
Anyways.
It could totally
Keep you posted on that
get their
development.
witchy decor. Up to
Yay!
snuff. All right, everyone. Well, thank you
This
so
has
much
been
for
so
listening.
fun.
Yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Blessed be. Is that?
Yeah,
No.
blessed be.
Blessed
be.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Midwest Coven Cast. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and join our coven by following us on our social media channels. You can find us on Twitter at Midwest Coven and on Instagram and Facebook with @Midwest Covencast. See you next time, and blessed be.